The Nazis were obsessed with magic. Yes, you heard that right, magic. It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but their fascination with the supernatural was very, very real. It reveals something chilling about how dangerous ideas can take hold and reshape the world. Today, we're going to explore not just what they believed, but why it mattered and what it can teach us about our own times. First, let's set the scene. You've probably seen it on TV or in books. Stories about Nazis becoming werewolves, communing with ancient gods, or even chasing after alien technology. These tales are sensational, and they definitely grab your attention. But historian Peter Staudenmaier gives us a crucial warning. When we focus only on these supernatural stories, we risk missing the most uncomfortable truth of all. It was ordinary humans, not demons or magic, who committed fascism and genocide. If we say the Holocaust happened because of mystical forces, we avoid asking the hardest question: how could people do such terrible things? But here's the twist: the Nazis' relationship with the supernatural wasn't meaningless at all. In fact, it played a critical role in shaping their entire political world. Historian Kurlander, in his book Hitler's Monsters, explains that Nazis didn't just randomly believe in magic. They mixed astrology, folklore, mythology, fringe archaeology, and bizarre scientific theories into what he calls a supernatural imaginary. This was a whole new way of seeing the world, where myths and faith mattered more than actual evidence. So, who actually believed this stuff? Well, after World War I, Germany and Austria were in turmoil. Traditional religion was fading, and millions of people were desperately searching for meaning. Educated liberal elites and Jewish intellectuals mostly dismissed occult thinking as nonsense. But the middle and lower middle classes were in a different position. They were educated enough to question religion but didn't have a deep grounding in science. So they were drawn to mystical explanations, parapsychology, and even things like tarot classes. They wanted answers that felt both scientific and spiritual at the same time. And this is where the story takes a dangerous turn. Many future Nazis grew up in this environment. So even skeptical leaders like Hitler and Goebbels understood how important their mystical supporters were. Hitler would complain about followers wanting to dress up in bearskins and chant over ancient runes. But think about it, why did he even have to complain? Unlike leaders like Churchill or Roosevelt, the Nazi base was deeply intertwined with this kind of supernatural thinking. This wasn't just some harmless hobby, it was central to their politics. Let me give you a striking example: world ice theory. This theory claimed that the entire universe was created when giant icy celestial bodies collided. It had absolutely no basis in real science, but it fit perfectly with Nordic mythology. Because of this, Heinrich Himmler, one of the most powerful men in the Nazi regime, elevated it to official Nazi doctrine. He even created a special division inside his own Enerb Institute just to promote it. Mainstream scientists were horrified. They protested, warning that this theory was unscientific and would harm Germany's progress, especially when the country needed real technological and military advancements. But their warnings were completely ignored. Even mild criticism of world ice theory could destroy a scientist's career. What should have been a scientific debate became a dogma enforced by political ideology. And the pattern didn't stop there. Nazi race theory borrowed heavily from occult ideas like Ariosophy and Theosophy. These ideas created a mythical hierarchy of races. Jews were labeled as monstrous, Slavs as subhuman, and other civilizations were awkwardly forced into a made-up Indo-Aryan lineage. This had almost nothing to do with real biology or anthropology. But these myths became official policies that justified discrimination, violence, and ultimately, genocide. The imagined became brutally real. Furthermore, the Nazis' rejection of mainstream science was deeply connected to their anti-Semitism. They weren't against science itself, they were against what they called the Jewish corruption of science. They believed their own mystical, faith-based way of thinking was superior. And while that might sound like a small detail, this mindset actively weakened Germany. It distorted military priorities, reduced efficiency, and led to disastrous decisions. Think about it. Even a 10 or 20% drop in rational decision-making can completely change the course of a war. So, what happened after the war? For the most part, this kind of supernatural thinking retreated from politics. Astrology, parapsychology, and fringe science went back to being private entertainment, not state doctrine. The German people learned a painful and catastrophic lesson. When fantasy replaces evidence in the halls of power, the consequences are devastating. This history has a powerful lesson for us today. We all still love fantasy. We read novels, we watch movies, we play video games. But most of us know the difference between imagination and reality. The danger arises when that line blurs, when faith-based thinking is used to explain complex political and social problems. Once myths and conspiracies take root in politics, facts become negotiable. Reality itself can be reshaped by belief. The key takeaway is this: defending reality requires patience, clarity, and courage. We have to be willing to explain ideas carefully, engage with rational people, and push back against misinformation without alienating those who are simply unsure. Because history teaches us that once a society can no longer agree on basic truths about science, about history, about evidence, fantasy stops being harmless. It becomes a weapon. This is the learning network, where history isn't just remembered, it's understood. And as we've seen today, the line between myth and reality isn't just an academic question. It can decide the fate of nations. Thanks for watching, and if you found this valuable, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into history.